Hello and welcome to everyone joining us today. My name is Farhad Barak and I was introduced earlier, and I'm a member of Paris Committee of Capacity Building. I would like to welcome you all in this event brought to COP28. This event is organized between the Convergence and in partnership with the Care About Climate under the PCCB Network. I'm delighted to witness the collaboration of the two distinguished members of the PCCB network. They're working together to conduct this virtual dialogue by inviting prominent speakers to share their experience and insights on COP28. The aim of this dialogue, as we all know, is to equip the attendants with essential resources, facilitate information and knowledge exchange, and provide a conducive environment for you to have an active and impactful participation to COP28 in Dubai in November this year. Before we get started, I would like quickly to introduce you to PCCB. As we all know, PCCB was established in COP21 in 2015. The Paris Committee on Capacity Building seeks to address current and emerging gaps and needs in implementing and further enhancing capacity building in developing countries. Its mission is to identify potential solutions to address such gaps and needs, including enhancing the coherence and coordination of capacity building efforts related to climate change. To further support the PCCB mission and mandate, the committee launched the PCCB Network in 2020 as a voluntary association of interested stakeholders engaging in climate-related capacity building. The PCCB network provides a platform to share information on the best practices, contribute to the work of the PCCB in fulfilling its mandate, and seeks to connect with its peers across sectors and regions. As of today, network unites 382 organizations from 97 countries. Today, we are particularly excited about the partnership between the Convergence and the Care About Climate and their joint efforts to bridge the information and knowledge gap on COP28 participation. This collaboration is a perfect example of the PCCB network dedication to facilitate sessions like this, fostering collaboration and sharing knowledge to collectively advance capacity building efforts. As we all know, to learn more about PCCB, how to become a member and its collaboration possibility as a member, follow our link in the chat as we're going to discuss later on. As we all know, the PCCB has a capacity building hub. Since its session is all about the PCCB, about the COP28, the PCCB joins forces with stakeholders at the international level to organize a week-long series of capacity building events at the capacity building hub every year, as we did last year in COP27 during the COP meetings or COP conferences. The fourth capacity building hub in COP27 brought together 56 diverse organizations that deliver 48 sessions through a wide array of modalities. It brought the experiences and knowledge of over 300 experts and explored topics ranging from the role of network and partnership in building collective capacities to the capacities needed to mainstream and scale up ecosystem-based approaches. The fifth capacity building hub is scheduled to be held in COP28 from the 4th of December to 10th of December and will host sessions aligned with the following thematic days. We'll have thematic areas: effective capacity building hub. We'll have capacity cities day, learning from and transforming our cities. We'll have a private finance capacity day. We'll have South Capacity Day. We'll have Capacity for Right-Based Climate Action Day. And then we'll have the PCCB NAP Day. All these things will happen in COP28. Through the years, the hub has proven to be a space for knowledge sharing and creation shared, partnership and engagement. The hubs have been proven to be a very good platform to share experiences. The PCCB is pleased to welcome all individuals and entities engaged in climate action across sectors and regions. as well as everyone in this session attending COP28. So my call to you is join us at the COP28 at the 5th Capacity Building Hub in Dubai. Help us raise awareness of the importance of capacity building for climate action and as a key tool for raising ambition. Come share your experiences, achievements, lessons learned in capacity building. If you want to join us for the 5th Capacity Hub, just go on our website and link on the PCCB Capacity Building. With that, we hope this session provides you with the practical insights and expert knowledge, offering a unique perspective of you being engaged in the COP28. Today's dialogue will grant you access to a diverse array of information and resources, equipping you with the toolkit and insight needed to drive meaningful change and make your participation to COP28 impactful. On behalf of the PCCB, I would like to thank the Convergence and the Care About Climate for this collaboration on this particular event. And I would also like to thank you for joining us this evening. Maybe before we get started with the session, maybe I should just give you a small housekeeping. I would like to inform you of some of the housekeeping rules to ensure we have a smooth session. Please keep as we all know, please keep your microphone muted unless given the floor by the moderator, and feel free to use the question and answer function or chat for any questions. Two, the webinar will be recorded and later uploaded to the PCCB website or through YouTube channel. The resources shared during this session and the outcome article will also be published on the same page. After the event, we kindly request you for your cooperation in completing a post-event survey, which will be posted. I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a prosperous discussion. Thank you. Now over to you, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Farhad. Thank you so much.
All right, now over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Farhad, and thank you to the whole PCCB team for providing this platform and an opportunity for the continuation of what started last year as the COP27 working group, formerly hosted in close partnership with the Peace Boat. And this year we're continuing into COP28. And just like to kick off with a very brief introduction what the Convergence is. And we are three different things. Our mission is to make sustainability accessible, and we do that through three different channels. We do that through our Creative Impact Studio, where we try to raise awareness about different issues and create stories that impact the viewers. We also built something called Converge, a platform to aggregate and disseminate resources and build collective capacity in the work that we all do in our strive towards a collective, more sustainable future, which I'll introduce a little bit later in this session. And lastly, we do tiny bits of philanthropy work where we invest into projects and try to bring them to life. But today, we're here to kick off the COP28 Action Group. And this year, we've improved and evolved from last year, and we've redesigned our structure. We will be inviting you to join us for an experience of 8 different sessions that will be taking place between now and COP28. And the COP28 Action Group is built with the purpose of fostering collaboration and really creating an environment of exchange and sharing and just collective abundance as we move towards the COP28 conference. It is a big one. It is a landmark one on our overall journey towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we're really, grateful for your support and participation, and we hope that what we've put together will be really delivering the kind of impact that we hope for, and providing you with the information that you will find useful to make COP as actionable as possible. And so with today's agenda, we'll be doing a brief introduction to COP, which I'll pass over to our Director of Impact, Rosie, to guide you through. Then we'll hear from our incredible guest, Ruth, and from Care for Climate, and then Action Group Resources, a brief introduction of the infrastructure that we've built, and then we'll follow on into the Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, as was mentioned, please drop them into the Q&A function above, and we'll be happy to answer any and all of them. But now, without further ado, I'd like to pass the word to Rosie to kick off the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for that introduction. So I'm just going to continue and give a very brief introduction to COP28. There's a lot of material to cover, but we'll have the opportunity to cover it in our continuous action groups over the next 8 weeks. So this will just be a brief introduction. So first off, COP28 will be from November 30th to December 12th in Dubai, UAE this year. And here you can see the thematic structure of COP that has been announced, and you can see on their website. So since COP21, each COP has been focused on implementing the Paris Agreement for capping planetary warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. So the current projections of emission trends, we are expected to surpass this by 1.5 degrees warming. And this highlights the very important role that COP is playing, COP28 this year, as an important year marking the first global stocktake, the GST, which culminates the 5-year period of assessment that began in 2017. This is a critical opportunity for us to reset the course in order to achieve the targets that we set in 2015 and are due to meet in 2030. So just to go over the GST, the global stocktake, it has 3 phases. The first is the information phase. This is the gathering of information on climate change and climate action from public, private, and government sectors from across the world. The second is the technical phase, the writing of the synthesis report that identifies areas of progress and opportunities for action in order to stay on track to meet the targets. The release of this report just came out prior to the UN General Assembly that finished in New York in September. The third phase is the political phase, and this is the one that's going to be occurring at COP. And this is where governments will be assessing these findings and negotiating decisions that will direct the course of the next 7 years. So this COP is an opportunity for us to make drastic adjustments in order to accelerate action in the coming years. So one of the key outcomes of COP27 was the loss and damage, the announcement of the loss and damage fund. And this resulted from negotiators advocating for the cost of climate impacts that are already significantly affecting frontline communities. And the purpose of this loss and damage fund is for the global community to financially support frontline communities when they're hit by natural disasters caused by climate change. And that's because frontline communities typically contribute the least to climate change, yet are suffering the most from its impacts. So a transitional committee was established to operationalize this fund before this year's COP27. Yet there are still some critical questions that are needed to be answered at COP28, such as who's eligible for this funding, where is this funding coming from? And the idea is for the funds to come from developed nations, but the mechanisms that determine how this will occur have not yet been addressed. And there has been a request for a community window to be established, and this will allow local leaders and organizations to access and apply for the funds directly rather than having to go through national intermediaries. Will hopefully reduce the bureaucracy in the process and allow the funds to be allocated more directly in times of need. So another really important goal for the Paris Agreement, for this COP28 is to tackle the Paris Agreement's goal of adaptation. This is where countries are meant to enhance their adaptive capacity, strengthen their resilience, and reduce their vulnerability to climate change. These are very lofty goals, yet the specific metrics have not yet been determined, so progress towards the goal is difficult for us to define. Adaptation is increasingly at the core of our conversations rather than just mitigation, because adaptation is about bracing for the effects of climate change and ensuring preparedness, and many of these effects are already occurring. So examples of adaptation technologies would be building drainage systems, storm barriers, water recapture systems. So one of the goals is to double finance towards our adaptation goals by 2025 from our 2019 levels. And there will be a lot of language at this year's COP centering around the phasing out of fossil fuel subsidies and funneling these supports towards proactive technologies instead. Another special focus for COP28 is food systems and agriculture, and this is announced by the UAE COP28 presidency, as food systems and agriculture contribute 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, and our regenerative practices are still falling short of our targets of 15%, need them to exceed 40% under the Paris Agreement. So nations are being invited to sign a new leaders declaration on food systems, agriculture, and climate action. And the purpose of this is to combine food system targets with biodiversity targets and their plans for delivering on the Paris agreements. So the COP28 UAE presidency has said that they will prioritize to identify investments in a limited number of high impact innovations with a focus on smallholder and climate vulnerable communities and producers. There are certain themes that are going to continue to surface in all the other discussions at COP. And these themes are technology and innovation, inclusion, frontline communities, and finance. So I know that that was a lot of information initially, and we're going to dive deeper into all of these topics as we continue with our action groups. But in summary, the global stocktake is essential for COP28 negotiations. One of the core tasks of this COP28 is mobilizing the loss and damage fund that was announced at COP27. Agricultural solutions are being coupled with biodiversity goals and being given priority. Adaptation is being increasingly prioritized and funded, and the cross-cutting themes are going to continue to surface in all of the discussions. So we'll have an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, you can save them, note them, or put them in the Q&A chat that was mentioned earlier. You can see it in the top. And now I'm going to pass it over to our keynote speaker today, Ruth I'm so sorry for pronouncing it wrong, Ruth Oviedo Hollins, who is representing Care About Climate. So Care About Climate is a justice-driven climate education and empowerment organization. And Ruth is the NDC project program manager, and she focuses on advocating for youth and inclusive nationally driven contributions and gender equality. So Ruth, take the floor.
Thank you so much, Rosie, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. And yeah, Care About Climate is a youth-led organization. And so I will be speaking a little bit about how youth are involved, but also how everyone pretty much can get involved in all things COP. And this is something that we keep in mind, engaging in climate action to save the planet and our future. So here we see intergenerational inclusion in the UNFCCC. As a youth-led organization, we do focus on doing a lot of more youth action. However, allies or other people can actually, be a part of it. A lot of work that we do is also with other UN committees like UNICEF and UNEP. So it's really about finding, who you can follow and what you're passionate about. We do a lot of work with the Children and Youth Constituency of the UNFCCC, or YOUNGO for short. And it's a main way where young people can get involved, share in interventions and in negotiations at COP. We do have youth negotiators, and this can be one of the more overwhelming experiences, because you do feel like you might not know enough, or you'd feel like you don't belong in the place, but it's not that hard to feel included. It's just about following those passions and trusting that what you're doing is the best for the planet. Observer status, as youth members, we do get a specific badge as an observer. Different people, different groups at COP have different statuses. You see observers, you see party badges and things like that. So it really does depend what group you're a part of. As an observer, we're able to observe and sometimes join negotiations and intervene, but there is a structure to it. Badges are typically a little bit hard to get by, but it's a matter of working with like maybe an NGO, working with a party. You might be, you might know who to talk to in your local government about that. So it really does vary, and it's something that it's easy to forget, and people do struggle to get badges, but we are, one of the things that we advocate for in these high level spaces is to make sure that we can include as many people as possible. And something unique about this COP is that the COP presidency has a youth climate champions team this year, and it'll support youth inclusion and youth delegates. Last year at COP27, there was the first official youth envoy, and it seems to be something that we are carrying on as years progress, which is fantastic because it allows younger generations to have a voice and be represented in these spaces. So the power of climate policy training, there's a lot of ways to get involved and to get that education that you need. And it is subjective based on your resources and where you are. So policy accountability, holding policy makers accountable, requires thinking and speaking like a policymaker. Climate policy can be chaotic. So there is no rule book to how to, go into COP. It's more about the experience, getting to know people, talking to different party members, different badge holders, and pursuing those passions. For example, I really appreciate all the work around the global stocktake and NDCs. So I try to find events or seminars that kind of tell me more about what's going on in that front. And so it's something that is highly encouraged, because even if you're, for example, a first timer, it can be an overwhelming experience, but there's just so much going on, and the climate space is just so diverse, and it has so many contributing themes, right? So it's important to find a focus if you can. And intention is everything. COP is not meant for tourism, it's meant for action. So creating a climate just future and being strong advocates requires intention. So if you go in person or virtually, which is something new since the pandemic, it's very important to keep that mindset of, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to learn? What do you want to take back home? Because often if you're fortunate enough to have that opportunity, you want to make sure that you're representing your community, your generation, or whoever you are, right, in these spaces. And that's a very unique place to be in. And strengthen solidarity. So climate justice has no boundaries, and international training supports breaking down systemic challenges and building holistic advocates. So these are ways in which you can get involved at COP. As I mentioned earlier, if you are under the age of 35, you can join Youngo, which is the constituency that I mentioned earlier, and Care About Climate is a part of. A lot of youth-led NGOs are part of Youngo, and it's wonderful, the diversity we see that. And there's other constituencies to the UNFCCC that are available that cater to different groups. There's for women, indigenous people, so all kinds, and we can definitely share some of those resources later. You can participate in the different pavilions. As I mentioned, there's a lot of spaces for a lot of these themes. And as was mentioned earlier, there's thematic days, so you can also build your focus around those days. Review and come prepared in ways to improve your country's NDC. So read what your climate pledges are for your country. Can your country be doing better? Can they be more ambitious? Or maybe they're not, high emitters, and they actually need a lot of support and like climate finance. So all of those things are ways to kind of find that focus that I've been talking about. Find resources that appeal to you, that are important to you, and attend as many sessions and webinars like this, like we are here today, as you can, to kind of get prepared and know more about these spaces. So how can we support civil society inclusion, right? So, sorry, next slide, please. Number one, create access, find ways in which other people can get involved and in which you can get involved. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and they're just waiting, for people like you to get involved and be represented. And then number two, train each other. If you have a group or a community that you work with, you don't have to go at it alone. There's a lot of modules out there, a lot of resources. These are just examples at Care About Climate, where we have Climate Academy and also mentorship for specific projects. And then number three, informed action. Read about those NDCs, like I mentioned. Maybe take some green job training, which is a big theme in the just transition conversations. So there's really a multitude of options for informed action. And how can you advocate for meaningful inclusion in your country's climate decisions and beyond? So that's a question also to keep in mind. And so here is how kind of you can call into your policymakers, right, or those decision makers in your countries to do more. So host listening sessions on climate action before, during, and after COP. It's important to prepare for COP because there's just going to be a lot of information. And then once you're there, try to learn as much as you can. It's helpful to like think of it as a sponge, you know, just absorb as much as you can. And then afterwards reflect on what you've learned and what you should be following up on. You know, maybe there were promises made, maybe there were plans of action. Okay, well, how are we going to deliver those, right? Enable, and this is for multi-generations, right? So enable young people to bring a peer to conversations. Talk to your peers about all of this. Don't keep it to yourself. You know, it's important to build a community as well. Partner with NGOs or groups to create policy priorities, engagement activities, and webinars. This is a great example of how we're doing that already. Recognize youth climate leaders from across your communities. It's really important to empower each other in these spaces because it can be very daunting to go through all of this alone. So it's highly encouraged, you know, to find that community again and establish inclusion quotas and policies for protecting our rights. So call upon diversity and inclusion of marginalized communities, vulnerable communities. You know, we can't forget about those people and giving them a voice as well. And then others, so, you know, listen to all these generations that are trying to come together to find good solutions. You know, reduce hiring barriers for young people in politics. This might not apply to everyone because some countries are a little bit more inclusive of young people, but it's something to remember and, you know, recognize. Connect with big NGOs. There's all sizes. Provide grants and funding opportunities, which is also something that as an NGO we really do try to do, and create a national youth advisory group on climate action. You know, this is more related to youth inclusion, but you know, these younger generations are the future and are the ones who are going to be facing these climate crisis consequences. So it's important to be an ally and support each other. And something to remember at the end of the day, there is no climate justice without intergenerational equity and youth empowerment. And these are just some helpful resources from Care About Climate Resources all the way to UNFCCC. And I didn't include the IPCC, but they are also a very incredible resource in just finding out how all of the data that's being compiled around the world is helping address the different issues that are coming up because of the climate crisis. And thank you very much for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you for this intervention. Thank you for sharing all this information and for the incredible work that you do with your organization. We must continue supporting youth. It is fundamental that we include those voices on our strive towards a sustainable future. I'll be sharing a little bit more as we continue on this session, throughout this session, about some of the action group resources that we've prepared. But before I dive into those, we'd love to share a very, very brief video to kind of set the theme for that.
Just over 140 years, the Earth's temperature has risen by 1.1 degrees Celsius.
Our world is at the crossroads, and our planet is in the crosshairs.
We need a quantum leap in climate action to combat what we've done. Warp speed is what we need to move at to make this happen.
Trying to make sure we raise ambition, we accelerate what we're doing, do everything possible.
We are at the tip of a tipping point, but it is not too late.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that. Just a little mood setter, I suppose, for what is to come and for some of the things that we'd love to share with you all now. First and foremost, last year was an incredible experience hosting the working group with the Peace Boat. And this year we're continuing on that same trajectory, same path, same ambition, and trying to improve on what we've learned and what we've done. And last year we've built our infrastructure around an Excel sheet. And this year we thought we could do a little bit better. So I'd like to introduce Converge to you, a new solution, a new platform designed to provide space to host and aggregate and share and access all of those resources and information, just build our collective capacity on this journey that we're all sharing together. I will introduce 4 different components of it very briefly, just to be mindful of time. Explore, resolve groups and contributions, and introduce it in more detail. So just a fundamental part of the platform is our little interactive map where you can navigate around the world and explore different parts of it. You have some statistical and demographic information there, but most importantly, you can also look up the SDG performance indicators collectively for the whole world provided by the UN Statistical Department. And you can also dive a little bit deeper, as an example here on my home country in Czech Republic, where you can also access that demographic information, but you can go a step deeper. For all of the UN recognized countries, you can access their Ministry of Environment. You can also check on their current and negotiated climate policies through our partner Climate Policy Radar. And same as with the Worldview, check on the SDG performance indicators. Again, details provided by UN Statistical Department. You can double check on their end. And then the next part is resolve, which is fundamentally explored, but in a more pragmatic organizational structure. It's in the table. You have some organizations here that you may be familiar, maybe not, but you can filter by different purposes, focuses, SDGs, and categories. You can navigate through different sections, organizations, funding, tools, and events. And then similarly, but with more purpose and more focus, we've actually designed a component called groups, just to keep it simple, that is really designated to the COP28 Action Group, where you can navigate through kind of a homepage or dashboard, if you will. For the group, you can access some fundamental resources, as you can see, as a WhatsApp group, a little COP28 toolkit, which I'll introduce shortly, but also through different other components, such as announcements, where you'll have recaps of these sessions that we have. Anybody can access this. Just to mention, this is free, open, and available to anyone from anywhere. But announcements of people that are within this group, this will stay very private. And just as it did last year, organizations that are part of the group, resources that are made available, perhaps, for example, the ones that Ruth so kindly shared, those will be included. Those links will be included in the database, which you can see next on our presentation. If we can jump to the next slide, please. It will look something like this once it's populated, once more information is included, and same will go for events. So I have one sort of request and an ask, which is to contribute information, Anything and everything that is on the platform will always be attributed back to you or whoever the contributor is. So we always want to recognize the contributor in this experience. We always want to, uplift all ends of that. But this is the part that it's all built on. This is what it's about. It's about sharing, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience, some resources or opportunities, or promoting your own event and what you're planning to do. This is where you can share what you think is important, what others should know about, and just shout it out into the world and make it available so that by the time we get to COP, all of that is out there. We have it available for each other. We can support each other. We can engage with each other's activities or support virtually if you're not attending COP at all. But this is the fundamental part of it. So all of this will be made available following this call through an email blast, of course, with all the additional information and the recap. But this is a big part of what we've tried to develop. It's still early, and we're still working on it. But I hope that you like this, and I'll also provide contact if you have any additional questions about it. So that's Converge, and then just very super briefly, the COP28 toolkit. We've had the pleasure of spending some time in Dubai with our team earlier this year. And there were some things that we've experienced, learned, picked up on, heard, and so on. And we thought, well, maybe other people could use that too. So we've brought all of that information together into a toolkit that's available, again, just like everything else, for free for everyone and anywhere. You can access it through Converge, you can access it through the WhatsApp group, you can access it in the PCCB newsletter. And it has some fundamentals on the UAE and its culture and history, and then also specifics for Dubai and how to navigate the city and how long it takes to drive from downtown to the expo, for example. Peak rush hour or regular traffic, like all those little details are there just to make your experience on arrival a little bit smoother. And also, of course, COP related activities and venues and things that will be taking place there. So a little bit more, we have information on some fundamental laws, which are pretty important, visas and venue. Just to stress on the visas and laws, please always refer to your home country for more information. This is just kind of an informational guide, but more to be done, of course, and verified on your end, certainly when it comes to legal needs. But details about the venue, the expo city. And then we also have information about the zones. For example, the green zone's not open just yet, but the blue zone, if you want the media accreditation, you can get started already. And there's links for that sort of thing in the guide. So that's all available. That's also going to come out right after this call in the follow-up. And that's the toolkit. And then the last but not least, here, if you'd like to join our WhatsApp group, this is the QR code. I'll give you a few seconds just to snap that if you have your phone handy. And if you don't worry about it. It will be provided. So it will be in the Converge. It will be in the newsletter. So no need to rush and grab your phone right now. But if you do, here it is. And then last but not least, and certainly not the least, is I just want to give a big thank you to our team for making this happen, for bringing this together. We have Elise, who's powering the behind the scenes of this experience and guiding this presentation. If you have any questions for her, here's her email. And Ilya Panic, he's the CTO who built the whole Converge platform. So big thank you for him to him for all his hard work on this. And if you have any technical questions, then give a shout to him. Of course, Rosie's email's out here, and mine, you can reach me anytime. So I just wanted to close on a thank you to our team, and of course to everybody else that's part of this incredible session from the PCCB, also to care about climate. And then I think now we're off into our, a quick mention. This is some of the sessions that are coming up. On October 11th, we'll be diving into climate financing and exploring that world a little bit. And just a note, these sessions are designed a little differently from previous sessions or other sessions maybe that you've experienced. We've kind of reordered them in a bit where we open with the core information about the theme, the latest news and updates that come out from the COP presidency team. And just so you can get 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the fastest updates, and you can leave. I know times are busy, especially as we get to COP, so we want to be mindful of that. So you can just get a quick snippet, and then, if you want to head out, it's up to you. But of course, after that, we have the guest speaker who has direct experience within the theme or topic for that given session. So you can stay for a while and give it a listen and hear their insights and past experiences from previous COPs and what they plan on doing at this year. And of course, in the spirit of the collaborative environment that we're trying to provide, then it's a Q&A, and then it's an open kind of collaborative forum that you may be used to if you were with us last year. Just an open format chat for anybody to share what's happening, what they're working on, what they're planning, or what they're needing support in. So that's that. And now I'd love to open it up to a Q&A for anyone and everyone. So thank you. I will let the Rosie pick if there's any questions, or you can raise your hand or just jump in.
Hey, everyone. So I'm just going to start from the questions in the chat. And we have a few different speakers that can address the different questions. So the first one is here from Tony. And the question is, are NDCs enough to reach our goals and targets? Do we need to augment them with corporate determined contributions, CDCs, and individual determined contributions, IDCs? I'm not sure if Ruth wanted to take that question.
Yeah, I can take it. Thank you for that question. So I often get asked questions like these, are they enough? Do they, I think it was Mozambique's NDC that was 1 page long compared to other countries it's like 10 pages long. And so the answer to that is probably. There is no set guidance on what exactly needs to be on NDCs. If you look at the Paris Agreement, I think it's Article 4. That's where they kind of start talking about NDCs and the importance of adding, mitigation, climate action, adaptation, all of that. But there's no set guidance, right, of what is needed to meet that ambition. So it really is a subjective strategy that each country takes, or each party of that country takes to communicate what kind of climate action they're willing to contribute at a global scale. And that's why they're so important, because this is the pledge that those countries put out to the world, and these are the contributions that they are pledging to do, right? Depending on who and in what role they play in climate action and the climate crisis in general. So as someone who works a lot with NDCs and youth engagement, it really is important to recognize how the different industries and different sectors contribute to emissions and, civil society inclusion or not. And the more diverse and the more inclusive the NDC is probably the better representation it has for their communities and also, the global community.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you for the answer. We have the next question here from Mark. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. On the global stock takes, and what are some of the key takeaways on the synthesis report, and what do we expect on the political debate on the global stock take to be ahead of and during COP28? I actually wonder if this is something somebody from the PCCB could share a few insights on, if they do have them. And perhaps we can jump back to this question if we have somebody who can join us from the PCCB and share some insights in the meantime. Rosie, do we have any other questions in the meantime?
There are not any more questions in the chat at the moment, but it's also an open floor right now. So if someone has a question that they would like to bring to the group, then feel free. We'll just try and moderate so that we don't have overlapping speakers talking at the same time. And also as well, if there are questions that we're not able to answer directly in this session, like doing a deeper dive into the GST and looking into that, that's something that we can incorporate in our further sessions as well. So we'll carry forward any topics that we want to address. Okay, I see Stan Chen's hand up, so feel free to ask a question.
Yeah, hi. Good to see everybody. So I know the Expo Center is like a little bit away from, downtown Dubai. For people who've never been to Dubai, what is the situation in terms of transportation, number one, as well as where are, obviously the blue zone is going to be at the Expo Center, but do we know where the green zone is going to be? And what is the status in terms of, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of side events, are the side events going to be in Dubai, or what are the thoughts and plans around all of that in terms of logistics?
100%. I can take that one. So in terms of transportation, you're absolutely right. The Expo City itself is about 30 or so minutes drive on a good day and no traffic. It can get pretty long in about an hour when you're hitting peak traffic coming from downtown. As far as we know, there will be transportation provided throughout the city. There's also, actual city infrastructure that is available. There is a train or subway system. It's a mix of both that runs from downtown all the way down to the Expo. That's pretty smooth and should get you there safely despite any traffic irregularities that you may run into. And in terms of the zoning, some of this information will be provided in the guide. And then the blue zone itself is in the Expo. There's a big assembly hall and space But the green zone is actually the extension of the Expo City itself. So there's a big, I don't know how to call it. It literally is a city. It's a big neighborhood. So the Expo, sorry, the blue zone will be located in the north. And then if you look at the map of the Expo City, then it's everything from the core dome, in the full perimeter all the way down to the sustainability district is what will be the green zone. So I hope that answered the question. And I'm sure there will be some COP related transportation. Of course, it's hard to anticipate the arrival traffic and anything related to that. But there is, the infrastructure is different. To Egypt, it is, or to Glasgow, it's a big space with a large number of parking spaces all around. And so, but hard to predict at this moment. I hope that answered the question.
Great, thanks, Dan.
I did see a hand up earlier from Andrew Griffiths. So if you still have a question, feel free.
Yeah, well, I was actually putting my hand up because no one else was, and I just wanted to say, I know I said in the chat, but I wanted to say aloud a big thank you to the whole team behind this. The fact that you've convened and put all of this together and are making it freely available to everyone in the community is incredible. And I, for one, and I've seen lots of others saying it as well, I'm very grateful for the time, and because just the screenshots of the platform, time and energy went into this. Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, really looking forward to reconnecting with everyone, and hope we get a chance to all meet up in Dubai. Just quickly though, in answer to Stan's question, I do have a couple of insights that I can share. The innovation zone is now in a different place this year. Last year, the innovation zone was much closer to blue zone, green zone. Innovation zone is a little bit set aside, and I'll make sure I share details on Convergence and in the WhatsApp chat, because I've got the team there has sent me their little brochure thing and stuff, so you can see that. Quite a lot of fringe events. The green zone's a lot bigger this year. So the Extreme Hangout, I don't know if anyone made it to that last year, it was an amazing Bedouin tent venue on the cliff top, which is incredible. They're actually in the green zone this year, and they've got like a 3,000 person theatre in the green zone. So I think we'll see a mixture of some big events still taking place outside, and it will be a bit more of a trek to get to them. Candidly, there'll be a lot more sort of logistics and traveling around, because it's not all on one strip like it was in Sharm last year. Then you'll see some of the fringe events have actually been wrapped into the green zone, and indeed some of the fringe events are blue zone, green zone type things, so they've got a lot more space for it this year. But overall, what I'm hearing is the main business activity for people traveling out, the innovation zone is actually only open for 5 days this year. They're not doing the whole 2 weeks. They're literally just doing the Monday to Friday from, I think it's like the 3rd to the 8th. So I think we're going to see a lot more focus in week 1, even than we did last year, where even last year I think there was a bit of a drop off of attendance in week 2. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing, and but we'll share as much as I can through the platform and through the WhatsApp and stuff.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the Innovation Zone is another great community to tap into, and we're hopefully going to have them speak for one of our action group sessions and share a little bit more, because there are great opportunities for involvement there on multiple different levels, as speakers, as attendees. However, if there are any more questions, feel free to raise your hand and we can share the floor.
I see I have one more here. Please feel free to just unmute yourself and share.
Lucia from the Center for Human Rights and Climate Change Research. I typed a question on the chat, but it's not taken, so I will just ask the question. My concern is that I'm still receiving requests from individuals from different parts of the world who are not accredited to UNFCCC and still requesting for assistance with registration. And my belief is that the nomination period is past, and that you could only confirm only those that have already been nominated. Please, I need some clarification concerning this. I've made a request for a communication to the UNFCCC to give me a clarification on this, but they just sent me a link which doesn't answer the question. So can you still register new participants for COP28, or you can, is the old style, you can only confirm those that have been registered? Thank you.
I can jump in if anybody has other insights. Again, this is an open forum, so we're definitely relying on our collective knowledge here. But as far as I understood, right now these general assignments have been closed. But again, please feel free to correct me. But now it's already up to the accredited organizations and governments to assign their passes. So I hope I'm not bringing any bad news or misinformation. Again, it's definitely something to double check directly from the Secretariat. But that's what I understand. And as far as the media accreditation as an avenue, those have been open now. So that's a potential if there's no other way to access other passes to consider if that is a viable avenue for you. And then of course, I mean, the GRISM, it's not open yet, and that does not require any additional steps. I hope I answered the question. I would definitely double check.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm just seeing another question here in the Q&A section. This is from Philip Johnson. He's asking to hear what different members of the team and audience see as the greatest opportunity for individual attendees to have impact both during, before, and after the summit. So I think this really depends. I'll just start it off and then we can open it for others to chime in as well. But it really depends on the individual and your areas of expertise. I mean, of course, joining sessions like these helps to have impact ahead of time and build collaborations. And then during it, targeting your areas of expertise and finding the communities that you can engage with. Because if you're not a negotiator or someone directly involved in the process, then the best way is to find your community within COP and try and be as helpful as possible, contribute your expertise or collaborate with other individuals who are tackling similar targets, because that's really one of the amazing things about COP is that it creates such an opportunity for collaboration. And then after, of course, is following up on all those connections, because if we don't follow up on them after COP, then that inspiration and that process just gets lost. So we really need to be following up on the connections and collaborations that we're building during the 2 weeks. If anyone else has any insights, or Ruth as well, since that's her area of expertise.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. It's really helpful since you're new to COP. There is essentially, once we get closer to the dates, there will be releasing like agendas and schedules. So try the days before to really kind of find what you want to explore that day and write that down, because there's just a lot of information. And definitely go and talk to people there, stay after an event and network a little, get some information out there and connect with them. And I think, to Rosie's point, it's really important to not lose that momentum after COP and follow up, ask questions. If you want to get involved in an organization or an NGO or a group of people that you met there, definitely, reach out and see what you can do. A lot of these global organizations have local chapters all over the world. So it could be an opportunity for you to get more involved, even from where you're located. And a lot of opportunities are also remote. So for example, Care About Climate has volunteers all over the world, and we have all the time zones, but we figure it out. So essentially, yeah, it really is about putting yourself out there and making those connections and finding like-minded people that are passionate about maybe the same thing that you are, or maybe someone that you just want to learn from and look for a mentor. Those are all opportunities that are available at COP.
And if I may jump in here, we're coming up on time on our session, but one, I'd love to mention that the next time for the next sessions, we will be making sure to keep about 15 minutes, both for Q&A, but also for a completely open format dialogue, just like we had last year, so people can really use that space. And if you see somebody that you want to have a chat with, there will be breakout rooms that you can break into at your time. So kind of use this space as an opportunity for a formal, informal meeting if you'd like to, since we're convening here in the weeks to come. But I just wanted to open the floor, actually. We have a couple of minutes. If there's anything that anybody would like to share, any additional reflections, additions, there's some questions that were in answers, Mark. We're definitely going to get back to you on that as well with the follow-up. Thank you so much for raising that one. It's really important for everyone. But is there anything anybody would like to share before we wrap this session in 2 minutes?
I just wanted to briefly jump in since I know people are going to be hopping off, but the action group is continuing and we're adjusting it to the group as well. So if there's anything that you want to see covered or that you want to communicate about with us, then feel free. We have links at the top for both for the Convergence, for the PCCB, as well as for Care About Climate. So you can find our email up there or anyone else that you saw as a speaker. And then, of course, to share within the chat amongst yourselves, to connect with each other. So just want to encourage these conversations to occur outside of this 1 hour session that we have every week. And then, yeah, I'll give the floor as well if anyone.
Links were reshared at the bottom now, just for everyone. Anybody wants to jump in just before we close the session?
Yeah, one more thing if I could plug it. Care About Climate has a COP course. The long name for it is the International Climate Policy and Advocacy course, and it's completely made from people who have been at past COPs. And it gives you a run through of their experience and what you can expect while being there. So if you're interested in exploring that course, I'll drop the link in the chat or just message us at info@careaboutclimate.org. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Thank you. We'll actually include that into the resource tab into the Converge platform so everybody can access that and participate. That sounds like a phenomenal resource. We're up on time. Just want to be mindful of our hosts and everybody that was here. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that joined. Just as a reminder, this is open for everyone and anyone. We are reachable. Please feel free to hit us up, share. If you have things to share, there will be newsletters going out. If you have resources to share, contribute them to the platform. We're open for anyone and everybody. It's meant to be, a safe space to share anything that comes to mind when it comes to the experiences at COP, not only professional, but if there's personal concerns or anything like that, this is the space for that. So thank you all again from the bottom of my heart, and thank you on behalf of our team, and thank you to the PCCB and Care About Impact as well. Excuse me, to Ruth, and we hope to see you soon. More information coming via our newsletter, and let's keep in touch. Thank you, everybody.